You probably think cities were built for people, safe homes, easy transportation, better opportunities, a place where millions of strangers could live together. But what if that's not true? What if cities weren't designed to help humans thrive, but to help humans produce? Because the moment you zoom out and look at modern cities from above, something feels strange. The endless grids, the identical buildings, the rows of windows, the concrete stretching to the horizon. It is almost as if humans became components inside a mansion. And in a way, we did. For almost 300,000 years, humans lived surrounded by nature, forests, rivers, mountains, open skies. Our brain evolved in those environments. Every system in your body was calibrated for that world. Not this one, not fluorescent lights, not traffic, not elevators, not cubicles, not 20-story buildings filled with people staring at screen. Yet, in less than 200 years, we've moved almost entirely into artificial environments, an evolutionary blink. Too fast for biology to catch up, and that's where things get interesting, because scientists have proposed something called the Biophilia Hypothesis. The idea is surprisingly simple. Humans don't just like nature, we need it. Deep inside our DNA, we're programmed to seek trees, water, sunlight, and natural landscape. Not because they are beautiful, because for hundreds of thousands of years, they meant survival. A river meant water, trees meant shelter, open grassland meant danger could be spotted from a distance. Nature wasn't decoration, it was information. And your nervous system still treats it that way, even today, which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens when you remove all of it? What happens when the environment your brain evolved for is replaced by concrete? Researchers discovered something fascinating. Patients recovering from surgery healed faster when they could see trees outside their windows. Office workers reported lower stress level when natural elements were introduced into their workplace. Even brief exposure to green space causes measurable reduction in stress hormone. Think about that. Looking at the tree, not touching it, not climbing it, not living in a forest, just looking at it can change your biology. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine spending years surrounded by traffic noise, grey walls, artificial lighting, windowless room, steel, glass, concrete. Your brain knows something is wrong, even if you don't, and according to some psychologists, that absence may trigger a subtle survival response. Not panic, not terror, something quieter, a constant whisper from your nervous system saying, this isn't where we're supposed to be. The scary part, most people never notice it because they never experienced anything else. A fish doesn't notice the water, and modern humans don't notice the cage because they were born inside it. But once you start seeing the patterns, you can't unsee them. The cubicles, the apartment towers, the endless commute, the artificial light replacing the sun, the carefully organized grid designed to maximize efficiency. Not happiness, not health, efficiency. And suddenly, a strange thought appears. Maybe cities aren't broken, maybe they're working exactly as intended. And that realization leads to an even stranger question. If cities weren't designed primarily for human happiness, what were they designed for? To answer that, we need to go back, way back, before skyscraper, before highways, before office towers, before concrete. To a time when the largest human settlements on earth were barely larger than in modern neighborhoods. For most of history, cities were small, tiny but modern that people lived close to food, close to water, close to nature. Even ancient cities had limits. You could walk from one side to the other. You could see the horizon. Leave the city and find yourself surrounded by fields within minutes. The city was part of nature, not a replacement for it. Then came the Industrial Revolution. Everything changed. For the first time in history, human labor became a resource that could be concentrated. Factory needed workers, lots of them. The closer those workers lived to the factory, the better. Distance became inefficiency. Nature became wasted space. And suddenly, cities began expanding at a speed humanity had never seen before. Entire neighborhood appeared almost overnight. Rows of identical houses, identical streets, identical lives. At first, this seemed like progress. People moved to cities seeking opportunity, and many found it. But hidden beneath that opportunity was a subtle shift. These were no longer being designed around human biology. They were being designed around production. The factory came first, the worker came second. Think about it. Why are business districts filled with towering office buildings? Why are residential areas separated from workplace? Why do millions of people spend hours commuting every day? Because the city wasn't optimized for the individual, it was optimized for the system. A giant machine designed to keep resource flowing, money flowing, labor flowing, production flowing, and humans became one of those resources. Not intentionally, not maliciously, simply structurally. A machine doesn't hate its components, it just uses them. And modern city became extraordinarily good at choosing people, which may explain something strange. Despite living in the most technologically advanced civilization in history, many people feel exhausted all the time, not physically, existentially. The kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, the kind of tiredness that follows you into weekends, into vacations, into retirement. A deep fatigue that seems disconnected from effort, almost as if something in the environment itself is draining energy. Because in a sense, it might be. Researchers studying attention discovered something fascinating. Your brain has two modes of focus. The first is directed attention. This is the effortful kind. Reading, working, studying, driving, answering emails. The second is effortless attention, the kind triggered naturally by waves on the beach, leaves moving in the wind, clouds drifting across the sky, birds flying overhead. Nature captures attention without demanding it, and that's important because directed attention gets tired. Nature helps restore it. Now think about the average modern day. Screens, notifications, traffic, advertisements, deadlines, meetings, messages, more screens, more noise, more stimulation. Every hour of every day your attention is being consumed, rarely restored. It's like withdrawing money from a bank account without making deposits. Eventually, something runs out. And maybe that's why so many people feel mentally depleted. Not because they are weak, because they're spending all day fighting against an environment that constantly taxes the nervous system. And yet, the architecture itself makes this invisible. You don't walk into a skyscraper and think, this building is affecting my biology. You don't sit in traffic and think, my nervous system interprets this differently than my conscious mind. You don't spend 10 hours under artificial lightning and think, my ancestors never experienced anything remotely like this because this environment feels normal. They are familiar, they are everywhere, and familiarity is powerful. Humans adapt to almost anything, including things that hurt them, especially things that hurt them slowly. That's what makes the trap so effective. If a tiger chased you every morning, you would notice. If a building slowly increased your stress level by 2% every day for 20 years, you probably won't. The damage would be distributed across thousands of moments, too small to detect, too consistent to question. Until one day, anxiety feels normal, burnout feels normal, loneliness feels normal, disconnection feels normal, and you assume the problem is you when maybe the problem is the habitat, because that's what cities ultimately are. Habitats, artificial habitats. And every habitat shapes the creature living inside it. A fish adapts to water, a bird adapts to the sky, a human adapts to the city. The real question is, what is the city turning us into? Look around, people spend less time outside than any generation in history. Children know digital landscapes better than natural ones. Entire week pass without some people touching soil. Millions wake up indoors, work indoors, exercise indoors, relax indoors, sleep indoors, experiencing the world primarily through glass, through screen, through concrete walls. The natural world becomes something visited, not something lived in. And perhaps that's the greatest architectural achievement of all. Not building cities, but convincing us that cities are reality, that the artificial world is the default world, that nature is merely an escape, a luxury, a vacation destination, when for nearly all of human existence, the opposite was true, nature was reality. and cities were the exception. Today, the exception has become the rule, and most people never stop to ask whether their brain received the memo because evolution moves slowly, cities move fast, technology moves faster, but biology still remembers. It remembers rivers, it remembers sunlight, it remembers open horizon, and no amount of concrete can completely erase that memory, which is why people travel thousands of miles to see mountains, why beaches calms us, why parks feel peaceful, why sunset stops conversation, why a single tree can transform an empty street, something an ancient wakes up, something older than civilization, older than architecture, older than cities themselves. A reminder that beneath the suit, beneath the office, beneath the apartment, beneath the concrete, we are still creatures of the natural world. And perhaps the strangest part of all is that deep down, we never stopped knowing it.